Behind the lavish facades of royal weddings, a darker narrative unfolded. Join me as we peel back the layers of time and decorum, venturing into the shadowy corners of historical royal bedchambers to uncover the true events that transpired on those fateful nights. Our first ill-fated couple is Ferdinand VII and Maria Josepha Amalia of Saxony. Maria Josepha Amalia was a princess of Saxony, while Ferdinand VII was the monarch of Spain who ruled in the early 1800s. On the day of their nuptials on October 20th, 1819, it is said that Josepha was so freaked out by the whole affair that she ended up defecating and urinating before the act could even begin. As a result, the marriage was not consummated. Louis Ferdinand did not treat his bride with the gentlest of touch, as he was a kind of person who could descend into fits of sexual outburst. Besides, he seemed too eager to produce a male heir, as his first two marriages were childless. Feeling insulted by the events that happened on the wedding night, the Spanish monarch refused sleeping in the same bed with Josepha. That only changed after the Pope intervened. Pope Pius VII's letter managed to convince the very pious young queen that sexual relations in marriage were sanctioned by Church and God. The marriage ended up being childless, and Maria passed away on May 18th, 1829, aged 25. Catherine of Aragon and Arthur and King Henry VIII. Catherine of Aragon and Henry VIII proceeded to tie the knot on June 11th, 1509. About a decade later, the English monarch would grow fed up with Catherine due to her inability to produce a male heir. Although the royal couple had a daughter, Mary, later Mary I of England, they suffered a number of miscarriages. Reasoning that Catherine's chances of conceiving grew dim with each passing year, Henry sought to wiggle his way out of the marriage. The English king had the Archbishop of Canterbury annul the marriage. Catherine was then banished from the king's court. Puyi and Gobulo I Rong. Emperor Puyi and Gobulo I Rong were married in 1922, when both were just 16 years old. In addition to being known as the last Chinese emperor, Puyi is remembered for several notable events, including his disastrous wedding night with Gobulo I Rong. Despite the highly publicized and lavish wedding ceremony, deep-seated irreconcilable differences lay beneath the surface. According to Chinese tradition, the newlyweds were carried in an elaborately decorated chair to the Palace of Earthly Peace, where they were expected to seal their union by consummating the marriage. Manchu tradition also required the groom to shoot 3 arrows over the bride's head to ward off evil spirits. However, the teenage Emperor Puyi, who had poor eyesight, chose not to follow this custom, fearing he might accidentally harm his bride. Additionally, he was unable to wear his glasses during the marriage ceremony, as they were not permitted. As a result, Puyi decided to forego the tradition entirely. When Puyi entered the royal bedchamber, which had been decorated in a way befitting the royal couple, the young emperor was consumed by panic and quickly made haste to exit. Apparently, Puyi had been startled by all the red decorations, describing the room as something akin to a melted red wax candle. The couple's marriage was not a happy one, and they had a strained relationship all their lives. Alexander the Great and Statira. Considered one of history's greatest military generals, the Macedonian conqueror is believed to have tied the knot with Statira in Susa around 324 BC, which was about a year before his death. It is well known that Alexander the Great had his fair share of lovers, both female and male, including his favourite companion and general Hephaestion. According to widely accepted accounts, on the day of Alexander and Statira's wedding, the Macedonian ruler chose to spend time with his male lover Hephaestion rather than with his bride. If there had been any doubts about Alexander the Great's sexual orientation, his decision to spend his wedding night with his male companion seemed to confirm it. Catherine the Great and Peter III of Russia. From the very beginning, Catherine was disappointed with Peter, whom she, like Empress Elizabeth, viewed as a lazy and worthless womanizer. On their wedding night, Catherine is said to have waited for hours for Peter to arrive. When he finally did, he was drunk and immediately fell asleep. In the following nights, Peter continued to ignore his wife's beauty, choosing instead to amuse himself with wooden soldiers and models of fortresses and cannons. Catherine and Peter never consummated their relationship, resulting in both of them having affairs outside of the marriage. It is very likely that Catherine's children may have been fathered by other men.